Is the conflicting job search advice that you see on LinkedIn getting a little bit overwhelming? That is what we're going to talk about today. I am Karin. I am the founder of True You Coaching Services, and I am here to make job search suck a little less. I am also the founder of the Bold Moves and Badassery Jobs or Career Transition Oasis, which is a place where social impact professionals can catch their breath, find their fire, and make stuff happen. We do this through a series of human design and mind-body practices that I believe puts together a more holistic job search experience and career transition experience for you all out there. So when you're on LinkedIn, let me guess, you see all the posts about how this person got a job and here's how they did it. And they give their advice for their process that they went through and they say, here's what worked. Right? And then you see a different post from a different person that says, here's what worked. And those posts conflict. They're not the same advice, right? Here's the thing about this. Job search is not actually a one-size-fits-all strategy. And when you are considering your career transition and you are considering what strategy you want to use to go through that career transition, there are other tools outside of the traditional job search advice that you can rely on to find a strategy that will work for you. So today we're going to talk through the 5 different personas, job search advice personas that we see on LinkedIn all the time. And we're going to bring this together with human design and just at the highest level, the human design types and what type these personas likely are. That's going to help you know if that job search advice, is that the right advice for you or should you be looking somewhere else? If you're not sure of your human design type, you can go online and pull your report for free. You do need usually your birth date as well, but to get just your type, birth time will not matter. Your type will be not based on the time. That is for more detailed elements of human design. We weren't going to get into that in this video. So the first of the personas that we see is mass apply mark. These are the folks who are on there saying, I applied to 500 jobs in 3 months and this is what worked, right? They applied to 1,000 jobs in 6 months. I've seen posts like this. A lot of people talking about how many jobs they've applied to. I'm sure you've seen it too. So this person, I'm not saying that strategy didn't work for them. Obviously it did. They wouldn't be posting about it. But this mass apply mark is probably in human design a generator or a manifesting generator. Generators and manifesting generators, you all are designed to respond to external stimuli and external invitations to things. So the online cold application strategy, which is like the traditional job search strategy advice that society pushes, like in order to get a job, you got to be applying, right? Well, that's what society says. I'm here to tell you, not necessarily. And mass apply mark, probably a generator manifesting generator, because that strategy is going to work for generators and MGs because they are made to respond to external stimuli. And that mass application strategy is responding to external stimuli. They are responding. That is their strategy to go through life. So the mass apply strategy works for them. Okay, so if you are a generator or manifesting generator, this traditional job search advice very well could be the right one for you. The next persona we're going to talk about is full-time Francine. You know Francine. She's like, the job search is a full-time job. You need to spend 40 hours a week on your job search. Here's the thing about that. Francine, also probably a generator and a manifesting generator. And the reason is because those two types have their own internal battery to sustain their energy. So when they are working on something that is meaningful to them and that motivates them, they can work hard, long hours, and they don't get burnt out. And so to be full-time in your job search, you really got to be a generator or a manifesting generator. Otherwise, I'm here to relieve you of that pressure. That full-time 40-hour-a-week job search is probably not for you unless you are one of those two types. The third persona is targeted Trevor. So this is the person who's on LinkedIn posting and saying, I applied for X number of jobs. I targeted every single resume and cover letter, very detailed, targeted to the job. Now, this strategy could work for any of the human design types. And the amount of it that one does might be based on if they're a generator or manifesting generator and they have that internal energy, or if they're a projector, reflector, or manifester and they just simply don't really have that level of energy. The one thing about the targeted Trevor strategy of just really detailed targeting is that you're still responding to external stimuli, which is more of a generator and manifesting generator strategy. Now, the targeted part of this does allow projectors to come in, because projectors, I'm a projector, so I'm familiar with this. We tend to be a lot more authentic in our approach. We see right through things. And so we want that authenticity. And so a targeted approach does help with projectors to be more targeted. So if you are a projector and you are cold applying, I recommend a targeted approach. Also, reflectors, we're going to get to you kind of at the end because you might do any of these strategies, and I'll explain why at the end of the video. The fourth persona of job search advice is networking Nancy. So this is the person who's like, cold applying is a waste of time. You have to be networking. It's all about who you know. Your referrals are what's going to get you in the door, et cetera, et cetera. This is the person who's sold on that is just the only way, right? Networking Nancy is probably a manifester, because manifestors are strategy. Their general strategy for life is to initiate. And so they are out there creating opportunities. Like that's their whole thing that they do. They are the ones who create for us. So they create opportunities. So if you're a manifester, your job search strategy probably isn't to find an opportunity out there and then apply to it. It is to create an opportunity, because that is the energy that's going to come through when you're talking to people. So networking Nancy, probably a manifester. Also could be a projector, because projectors, we are all about authentic relationships and relationship building. And so we probably are doing more informational interviewing, building relationships with people and seeing what kind of opportunities that brings, because it is our role to wait for the invitation to respond. That is our strategy in this to go through life, is to waiting for an invitation, which is why cold applying, not typically the strategy that's going to make a projector feel very good, because we basically need to put our brilliance out there and then have people respond to it and have people come to us and invite us. And so the networking Nancy, that in those informational interviews, you're sharing your wisdom. You're not interviewing for something, but you get to the opportunity to share more about what you do. That's a projector thing. Okay. So then that other person's going to recognize that wisdom and invite you in. And the fifth persona, job search advice persona, is Project Pete. Now, this one's a little bit less common, but I see it. People are like, this is how I created my own job. Found a company I wanted to work for. I researched what all their problems were. I created a project around it. And then I got myself a meeting with the person and presented my project. Project Pete did a lot of work outside of the thing to really create a targeted solution for a specific company that they wanted to work for. This is very much going to be a projector or a manifester opportunity, because the manifester, again, you are creating opportunities. So if you Project Pete is probably a manifester, could also be a projector, because projectors, we're putting together our wisdom and putting it out there for people to recognize. So a project would be us putting our wisdom together. Reflectors, I have not forgotten about you. Reflectors, any of these strategies, Mass Supply Mark, Full-Time Francine, probably not a reflector, but Mass Supply Mark, Targeted Trevor, Networking Nancy, or Project Pete, any of these personas and these strategies, any of them be reflectors based on how they're feeling. So reflectors, what's so important for you is that your process and your strategy, it all has to be about how you're feeling. Your career transition, you should see it as a living experiment. Always be self-reflecting on how you're feeling about it. And if the feeling goes negative, then it's time to change. And so you might transition from Mass Supply Mark, start feeling negatively about that, and decide to become Networking Nancy. You are a chameleon and you have that ability to kind of morph yourself into any of these strategies and make any of them work for you, as long as you are taking your time as you do it. You need plenty of time to process an opportunity. Not the spontaneous, yes, that's my job, isn't really for you. So you need to be tracking how you feel about an opportunity as you go. You need to track about how you're feeling about a process as you go. That's going to help give you clarity in your process and in the opportunity that you ultimately accept. So be sure, reflectors, that you're always tuning into how you're feeling about your process and that you are giving yourself time to go through the process. That's also very, very important. If this is helpful to you, then I hope that you're able to see, perhaps knowing your human design type, which strategy maybe might be a better strategy for you. And that helps you then on LinkedIn know whose advice do you listen to and whose advice do you not. So if you are a projector and you see some full-time Francine come in there, you can and they're like, it has to be a full-time job. Projectors, we don't have that level of energy. It doesn't have to be a full-time job. You're going to want to look for advice from Networking Nancy more than you're going to want to look at Mass Apply Mark. Okay, so I hope that this helps everybody understand, based on your type, what some strategies are that you might use and what advice you follow on LinkedIn and what advice you say, oh, that's nice for you, I'm going to move on. If you want to dive much deeper into this, I offer you dive really deep into how to use your human design for your career transition and job search. We dive really deep into that in the Bold Moves and Badassery Career Oasis. So that's a space to find out more. I hope that you can use this, helps you sort through and filter your experience on LinkedIn.